Hi there, or should I say bonjour. This is Steve Kaufman here. I'm going to talk about how to learn French online and specifically using the resources that are available at LingQ. In my previous video, I showed you how to find content in our library at LingQ or from elsewhere on the internet. And I'm going to use 3 examples here of how I would study. Now, here is a lesson, and this is a lesson created by 2 of our members. Immediately we see that there are, for me, as a learner of French, although I'm not learning French, I have played around with French and saved certain words. So what we see immediately is that there are some words that are highlighted in yellow, and some are blue, and some are not highlighted at all. What that means is that the blue words are new to me. I may know them, I may not know them, but I have not come across them before at LingQ. If you are a brand new learner at LingQ, all your words will be blue. Once you save a word, or link it as we say, it becomes yellow. And if you decide not to save a word, you can mark it as known individually, like here you can say known, or you can click linked and it'll remove all of the blue words that you did not link. All right? So this is kind of the fundamental task at LingQ. It's a way of adding words to your database of words that you want to learn. It's indicating the words that you already know, and you set yourself up so that the next time any of these yellow words show up, you're reminded that you once looked them up, you're reminded of what they mean, and so forth. Okay, very quickly here there are some instructions. We want you to read and listen. We want you to link new words. In other words, decide the words you want to learn and click on them. If you have the time to submit some writing and also speak to a tutor on the subject of this lesson. You'll notice that there's a sound bar where we can listen to this exchange.
Salut Marguerite.
Bonjour Serge.
Est-ce que tu sais pourquoi je t'appelle?
Oui, je sais pourquoi tu m'appelles.
Okay. This is a relatively simple conversation. It's natural. It's unscripted. The advantage of this lesson is that it contains a lot of relatively common words. One of my beliefs is that the sooner we can get away from uninteresting beginner content, the better. And this kind of conversation generally has fewer difficult words in it than, let's say, literature. So it's a very good place to start. You don't need to begin with very simple material and think that you are building this great house based on building blocks or that you've got some great foundation in the language, because in fact everything we learn we forget. And it's very difficult to make interesting content containing only the most common words in the language and so forth. So you're better off to struggle through with content that's a little difficult, linking, listen more than once, and even if you don't fully understand it, you move on to the next. Now, if I were doing this lesson, okay, voilà. Est-ce que tu sais pourquoi je t'appelle? Now, you can save t'appelle, calling you, as a word, or maybe you're more interested in est-ce que tu sais pourquoi je t'appelle? You might be interested in this whole phrase. So then, why I call you. So you have a choice. You can either save an individual word or you can save the phrase. All right? So one thing, by the way, as you save these are added to your list of links for this lesson. You can always go in and flashcard them, do close tests, print them, export them to your Anki or whatever the case may be. You probably don't need to look at this either once you're done with it. So now you have a better look at this text. Now, normally, if I were studying a language, I would say, there's not that many new words here. It might be more convenient to do this on my iPad. So maybe I want to go through and get rid of all of the blue words that I need to know. So, m'appelle, call me, yeah, I know that. Surprise, I know that. Podcast, I know that. Accent is an emphasis. Yeah, mais l'accent, emphasis, okay. So, in other words, you're going to go through here and save these. Now, and sometimes the translation, permettrait is would permit. So this translation that Google Translate has provided is not very good. So in that case, you click on search the dictionary and allow, would allow, so you can grab that verb would allow, permettrait. You may or may not know that it's would allow. Sometimes you just might say allow, because some of the, call it the functions of the word, the grammar is going to gradually get clearer, and then you just save it. All right? So I would go through and do that, getting rid of all my blue words. Now I'm not going to do that for you here, but I would do that because then I can read it. I can read it on my iPad, and I'll have all the words that I need. The other thing that I could do here is, I regularly, like ce qui permettrait, that's the, the conditional, it would permit, all right? So I might want to save that, and you see they've got it wrong. It's which would permit. So I would edit that, and I would say, no, that is which would permit. And then I would also add a tag. Now I haven't got, or maybe I have, yeah, conditional. All right, so I would tag that as conditional, because then later on in the vocab section, I can review a long list of examples of the conditional. There might be other expressions here, or other, j'aimerais, here's another conditional. So, voila. Here, this is quite interesting. I could put j'aimerais qu'on mette au point. Okay? So I go and save that as a phrase and see what I would like to put the point. Now that is wrong. Now Google Translate tries its best. If it doesn't come out quite correct, you may ask your tutor, what does this mean? Or really what this means is, I would like to, I would like them to, create, or mettre au point is to create something, right? I would like, and I might tag that for the conditional, and if I'm really clever, I might tag it also for the, what do you call it, subjunctive, which I don't have here. So I add that, and I'm going to have another tag, because j'aimerais qu'on mette is actually the subjunctive. Now, that gets pretty complicated, and if you don't know that, then you don't know that. But this way you can tag two tags, so that when you you can review all your subjunctives. Granted, this assumes a certain knowledge of the language, so you kind of grow with the system. At first, you don't tag for that. You probably have a little book with some grammar explanations, or you've asked your tutor. You get a sense of what the subjunctive is, and as you become familiar with it, you start tagging for it. Or you might tag for, like je sais, sais is savoir, savez-vous. If you have trouble with that verb, or the verb avoir, j'ai, vous avez, nous avons, or aller, vont, you may tag it as the verb, aller, or however you want to use the tags. I find it quite useful to do. So, that's kind of the main thing here. This is, I think, fun. It's not very difficult. It's for an intermediate learner. If you're beginning in French, there are a lot of very basic beginner lessons that you can spend a month or two on. But within a month or two, you should be moving on to these lessons. Now, let's move on here. The other day, I went to Le Monde. I showed you how you can use our bookmarklet to go and cut and paste and bring articles in from the newspapers that are available on the internet. And so here, of course, there are more words that are new, because the newspaper uses more complicated vocabulary. So I like to do a lot of reading without the sound. You'll notice that there's no sound bar here, because this was just a newspaper article that we imported. So voilà un constat. Okay, so you put your cursor there, and here is an observation, and here you have a number of recommended hints or meanings that our learners have chosen in the past. You may not be sure which one it is, which one applies in here, and I always say, don't worry about the dictionary definition. You want to get a hint as to what the meaning is. If you have a few hints, after a while you start to piece together what the meaning of this article is, and it may still be a bit fuzzy. I think it's very important that language learners accept the fact that meaning any meaning in anything they're reading in the language is going to be unclear for a long, long time. And they should move on to new material, even though what they're working with is a little unclear. It's not a matter of nailing it down and putting bricks or putting together a foundation. It's a matter of exposing yourself. And someone on my YouTube channel said, quoting Michael Lewis with his lexical approach to language learning is not a machine with components. Language learning is like a tree that you nourish with sunlight and water and soil and nutrients and so forth. So we might just take that. Qui va déranger, upset, sure. So, here again, I could go to the quick link view here. A good thing to do is to do the quick link view to get through all of these new words. It's not that long a lesson, an article. Then go back in and save phrases for specific points of grammar that you want. And now you're set to go on your iPad where you can sit down in a comfortable chair and read it again. And if there's sound on the iPad, you can listen to the sound and read it, and with your finger touch screen just see the meanings of the words. So just moving on a little more quickly here, because I know there's a time limit. Here is an audiobook. So here's the kind of stuff that's available. All this is from our LingQ library. It's Guy de Maupassant, Le Horla, from Livrophone, which they kindly allowed us to put up. And so we can listen here to
Le Horla, 8 mai.
Quelle journée admirable! J'ai passé toute la matinée étendu sur l'herbe, devant ma maison, sous l'énorme platane qui...
Now, one of the things you can do with a novel like this, which may have a lot of new words for you, you can again go through and, save the words that you need. And then, if you can then, as I say, read it on your iPad, or if you prefer, and if you have a hard copy, you can actually read the book and have adjacent all of the words you need so that you can enjoy reading the book. The advantage of reading on the iPad is that you can also listen to it. So there's so many different ways that you can access this material. You can listen to it on an MP3 player while running, and I often do this, and of course I miss so much. Then I come back to the book, and I have my iPad handy with the meanings of the words available at the touch of a finger, and I read the book in paper, which is a more comfortable format. And then so every so often I will review the words that I've saved. The list here is short. If I went through here and saved all the words I needed, the list would get longer. And I think that's enough today on the subject of how I study these lessons. And next time I'll talk about how I would deal with them in the vocabulary section in order to have a better chance of remembering the words. So that's that, and thank you very much for listening.